Have you ever noticed how some people only see your value when it benefits them? They don't appreciate your time, effort, or loyalty until they need something. And when they do, they come with sweet words, empty promises, and favors disguised as friendship. Never trust people who ask for favors that serve only them while costing you everything. They assume you'll always say yes, always be available. But what if I told you that the moment you stop granting favors is the moment their true intentions are revealed? It's like a well in the middle of a village. Everyone comes to it, drinks from it, relies on it. But no one stops to appreciate it. They take and take, assuming the water will always be there. But when the well runs dry, only then do they realize what they've lost. Or think of a fire that provides warmth in the cold. People gather around, comforted by its glow. But when the fire needs fuel, when it requires care in return, they hesitate. They assume it will burn forever until it fades to embers and the cold sets in. That's the reality of trust. It only holds value when it's mutual. While they keep asking, you have a choice. Keep giving until you're empty, or recognize when you're being used. The moment you stop entertaining their selfish requests, the truth comes out. Those who valued you will stay, the rest will disappear. So how do you recognize the favors that aren't about friendship, but about manipulation? Stay until the end, because the last one will change everything. Let's get started.
Number 7. Can you risk everything while they risk nothing? Let's talk about one of the most dangerous kinds of people, those who expect you to take all the risks while they play it safe. These are the people who will push you to make huge sacrifices, your time, money, reputation, or even your well-being, while they sit comfortably on the sidelines. They'll say things like, "Trust me, this will be worth it," or "Come on, take one for the team." But when things go wrong, you're the one left dealing with the consequences, alone. Here's the truth. If someone asks you to take all the risks while they stay safe, they don't see you as a partner. They see you as a tool. Real friends, real partners, real allies don't ask you to gamble everything while they contribute nothing. If they truly believed in the risk, they'd take it with you. But instead, they want the reward without the responsibility. They want you to jump into the fire while they watch from a safe distance. And the moment things fall apart, they'll act like they had nothing to do with it. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca once said, "The willing are led by fate, the reluctant are dragged by it." What does this mean? It means that if you allow others to manipulate you into taking all the risks, you're not in control of your life. They are. You're being dragged into their plans, their schemes, and their convenience while they stay comfortable. And the worst part? People like this never step up when it's their turn to sacrifice. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Ryan, had a friend who always had big ideas. Business ideas, investment opportunities, risky moves. Every time he'd tell Ryan, "This is the next big thing. You should put in the money first, and once it takes off, I'll join in." Ryan trusted him, so he took the risk, investing time, money, and energy. But the friend, he never followed through, and when things didn't work out, he simply shrugged and said, "Well, you didn't have to do it." That's when Ryan realized this friend never intended to take a risk. He only wanted someone else to carry the weight. So how do you handle people like this? First, ask yourself, are they taking the same risk? If the answer is no, that's a red flag. Second, set boundaries. If someone keeps pushing you to sacrifice while they contribute nothing, say, "I'm only in if we both take the risk." And finally, trust actions, not words. If they truly believed in what they're asking you to do, they wouldn't hesitate to take the leap with you. At the end of the day, real trust is built on shared effort and responsibility. If someone expects you to risk everything while they risk nothing, they're not looking out for you. They're using you. Know your worth, protect your future, and never carry risks that others refuse to share. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights.
Number 6. Can you cover for me? Let's talk about one of the most common ways people take advantage of others, asking you to cover for them. It happens everywhere, at work, in friendships, in relationships. Maybe they forget to finish an important task and want you to take the fall. Maybe they neglect their responsibilities and expect you to clean up the mess. Or maybe they simply don't want to deal with something, so they push it onto you. At first, it might seem like a small favor, but over time, you realize this isn't about occasional help. It's about them avoiding responsibility. Here's the truth. Trust is built on responsibility. If someone constantly asks you to cover for them, it means they lack the discipline to handle their own duties. And the more you say yes, the more they'll expect it. What starts as a one-time favor quickly becomes a pattern. They don't see it as you helping them out. They see it as you always being available to fix their problems. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." What does this mean in this situation? It means that you can't control how irresponsible someone else is, but you can control whether or not you allow it to affect you. The more you keep fixing someone else's mistakes, the less control you have over your own time, energy, and peace of mind. And the worst part? If something goes wrong, they won't take the blame. You will. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Adam, had a coworker who always asked for favors. At first, it was small things. "Hey, can you clock me in? I'm running late." Then it became bigger. "Can you finish this report for me? I got busy." Every time Adam helped, thinking he was being a good teammate. But when a major mistake happened on one of the reports, guess who got blamed? Adam. The coworker was quick to shift the responsibility, saying, "Well, Adam handled that part, not me." That's when Adam realized, covering for someone else's irresponsibility only puts you at risk. So, how do you handle this? First, set boundaries. If someone asks you to cover for them, say, "I can't do that." No explanations needed. Second, watch their reaction. A responsible person will respect your decision. Someone who gets upset is revealing their entitlement. And finally, remember this. Reliability is a strength, but only when it's not being exploited. At the end of the day, responsibility is not something you can transfer. If someone refuses to handle their own duties, they don't deserve your trust. Cover for yourself, not for people who refuse to do their part. Number 5. Can you do this for free? Let's talk about a favor that might seem harmless at first. Someone asking you to do things for free, over and over again, without appreciation. It starts small. Maybe they ask for a little help, a quick favor, or just a simple task. At first, you don't mind. You're happy to help. But then, it happens again and again. And soon, you realize something. They're not asking because they appreciate your skills or generosity. They're asking because they know they can get something from you without giving anything in return. Here's the truth. There's a difference between helping and being used. If someone truly values you, they'll respect your time, effort, and expertise. They won't just take, they'll give back, whether it's through gratitude, fair exchange, or at the very least, respect. But people who constantly expect you to work for free, they don't see your effort as something to be appreciated. They see it as something they're entitled to. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not waste yourself in rejection. Do not throw away your days in useless resentment." What does this mean? It means your energy, time, and talents are valuable, and wasting them on people who don't appreciate them only leads to frustration. If someone keeps asking you for free work without gratitude or reciprocation, you're not being helpful. You're allowing yourself to be drained. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Emily, was a talented graphic designer. A friend asked her for a small logo design, and she agreed to do it for free as a favor. Then, that same friend asked for another design, and another. Every time, it was just one more thing. And every time, Emily felt too guilty to say no. But when she finally hinted at charging for her work, the response was, "Wow, I thought we were friends." That's when she realized, real friends respect your skills. Users only respect what they can get from you. So how do you handle this? First, set boundaries. If someone repeatedly asks for free work, kindly but firmly let them know your time has value. Second, watch their reaction. A good person will respect your limits. Someone who gets upset was never truly valuing you in the first place. And finally, remember that generosity should be a choice, not an obligation. Helping people is good, but only when it's mutual and appreciated. At the end of the day, your skills, time, and energy are valuable. If someone only comes to you when they need free work, they don't see you as a friend or a professional. They see you as a resource. And that's not someone you should keep around. If you've watched the video this far, don't forget to leave a comment with a "thank God" and give it a like if you enjoyed the content. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep creating more interesting videos. I hope you find inspiration in them and that we continue learning together. Thank you for your support. Number 4, can you take the blame for me? Let's talk about one of the biggest red flags in human relationships, someone who asks you to take the blame for their mistakes. It might seem small at first. Maybe they forgot to do something at work and ask you to cover for them. Maybe they messed up in a social situation and want you to take the fall. They'll say things like, "Come on, it's just this one time," or "I'd do it for you." But here's the reality. People who avoid accountability will betray you to save themselves. The moment you agree to take the blame, you set a dangerous precedent. You become their safety net. And the more they get away with it, the more they'll rely on you to clean up their mess. The worst part? If things spiral out of control, they won't protect you. They'll let you sink while they walk away untouched. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca once said, "A dishonest man always blames circumstances, never himself." And that's exactly the kind of person who will ask you to take the blame. They refuse to own their actions. Instead of learning from their mistakes, they shift the responsibility onto others. And if they're comfortable blaming you once, what's stopping them from doing it again? Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Alex, had a co-worker who was always finding ways to avoid trouble. One day, this co-worker made a major error on a project, and instead of owning up to it, he asked Alex to say it was a miscommunication between them. Alex, being a good-natured person, agreed, thinking it was harmless. But then it happened again. And again. Every time something went wrong, this co-worker found a way to shift the blame onto Alex. And when their boss finally got fed up, it wasn't the co-worker who faced consequences, it was Alex. That's when he realized, people who refuse to take responsibility will always find someone else to carry the burden for them. So, how do you handle this? First, say no immediately. The moment someone asks you to take the blame, set a boundary. I'm not responsible for your mistakes. Second, pay attention to their reaction. If they get defensive or try to guilt trip you, that's a clear sign they never respected you in the first place. And finally, distance yourself from people who avoid accountability. Someone who won't own their mistakes is someone who will sacrifice you to protect themselves. At the end of the day, true strength comes from taking responsibility, not running from it. Never carry the weight of someone else's dishonesty, because once you do it for them, they'll expect you to do it forever. Number 3. Can you keep this a secret? Let's talk about a dangerous favor that people often ask without realizing the weight of it: keeping a secret to cover their wrongdoing. At first, it might seem harmless. Maybe they made a mistake at work and want you to stay quiet. Maybe they did something unethical and need you to look the other way. They'll say things like, "Come on, you're my friend. Just keep this between us." But here's the truth. Keeping secrets that protect dishonesty makes you part of the deception. When someone asks you to cover for them, they're not just asking for silence. They're asking for your integrity. And once you agree, you're involved. If their lie unravels, you go down with them. And the worst part? People who drag you into their secrets rarely take responsibility when things fall apart. If they're willing to deceive others, what makes you think they wouldn't throw you under the bus to save themselves? This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Silence becomes cowardice when occasion demands speaking the whole truth." That means staying quiet in situations where truth is necessary isn't just harmless, it's a form of betrayal. The Stoics believed that truth and integrity are the foundation of a strong character. If you allow someone to pull you into their deception, you're compromising your own values for the sake of their mistakes. And once you do it once, they'll keep asking, pushing you deeper into their web of dishonesty. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Sarah, had a co-worker who asked her for a small favor. He had been slacking off on a project and wanted Sarah to tell their manager that he had been working late when he hadn't. He assured her it was just this once. She hesitated, but not wanting to cause conflict, she agreed. A few weeks later, he asked again, this time to cover for a bigger issue. Soon, she realized she was constantly being dragged into his lies. And when their manager finally discovered the truth, guess who got blamed too? Sarah. That's when she learned, protecting someone else's deception never ends well. So, how do you handle this? First, set a firm boundary. If someone asks you to keep a secret that goes against your integrity, say, "I don't get involved in things like that." Second, observe their reaction. A good person will respect your stance. Someone manipulative will pressure you or make you feel guilty. And finally, understand that real trust is built on truth. If someone only values you when you help them hide things, then they don't respect you. They just see you as useful. At the end of the day, never let someone else's dishonesty compromise your integrity. Because once you protect a lie, you become part of it. And nothing destroys trust faster than deception. Number 2, can you lend me money with no intention to repay? Let's talk about one of the biggest red flags in human relationships. Someone who borrows money with no intention of repaying it. At first, it might seem harmless. They give you a convincing story. Maybe they're in a tough spot. They just need a little help, and they promise to pay you back soon. They might even say, "You know I got you next time," or "I would do the same for you." But here's the problem. It's not about the money, it's about their character. Borrowing without a sense of responsibility shows entitlement. It means they see your generosity as something they deserve rather than something they should respect. And if they can easily take from you without the burden of accountability, what else are they willing to take? Because the truth is, when someone borrows without any guilt about never paying it back, they're revealing something deeper. They don't value fairness, and they don't value you. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Seneca once said, "A loan creates an enemy." Why? Because when money enters a relationship, it changes the dynamic. Suddenly, the person who borrowed feels guilt or resentment. Instead of appreciating your help, they start avoiding you. They might justify not paying you back by saying things like, "Oh, you have plenty of money, why are you so worried?" Or, "You know I'll pay you eventually, stop bringing it up." But the reality is, the moment they borrowed with no intention of repaying, they already disrespected you. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him David, had a close friend who frequently asked to borrow small amounts of money. At first, it was $20 here, $50 there, nothing too concerning. But over time, David started noticing a pattern. The friend never offered to repay, and whenever David brought it up, the response was always the same. "Oh yeah, I'll take care of that soon." But soon never came. Then, one day, the friend asked for a much larger amount. That's when David finally said no. And guess what? The friendship ended almost immediately. The moment David stopped being a source of easy money, the so-called friend disappeared. And that's when he realized it was never about friendship. It was about what they could get. So how do you handle this? First, never lend what you're not willing to lose. If you give money, consider it a gift, not a loan. Because the reality is, most loans in personal relationships never come back. Second, watch how people treat debts. A responsible person will pay you back without being asked. Someone who avoids it was never going to repay in the first place. And finally, understand that saying no will reveal their true intentions. If someone values you only when you're financially useful to them, then their loyalty was never real. At the end of the day, it's not about money, it's about respect. A person who borrows without the intention to repay isn't just careless with cash, they're careless with trust. And if they don't respect a debt, they won't respect you either. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 1. Can you lie for me? Let's talk about one of the biggest red flags in any relationship, when someone asks you to lie for them. It might seem small at first. Maybe they ask you to cover for them at work, pretend they were with you when they weren't, or tweak a few details to make them look better. They say things like, "It's just a little white lie," or "Come on, it's not a big deal." But here's the truth. Anyone who asks you to compromise your integrity will do the same to you when it benefits them. Lying for someone isn't just about protecting them. It's about putting your own reputation, values, and even your future at risk. The moment you agree, you become part of their deception. And here's where it gets dangerous. If they're comfortable asking you to lie for them, they'll have no problem lying to you. They see honesty as flexible, something that can be bent to suit their needs. And if today they need you to lie for them, what's stopping them from twisting the truth about you tomorrow? This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus once said, "What is right is not always popular, and what is popular is not always right." The Stoics believed in living with integrity, regardless of how inconvenient or uncomfortable it may be. When someone asks you to lie, they're testing your boundaries. If you say yes, they learn that you're willing to bend your morals for their sake, and the more you allow it, the further they'll push. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Jake, had a friend who frequently asked for small favors. It started with minor things. Hey, just tell them I wasn't feeling well. Or, can you say I sent that email even though I forgot? At first, Jake didn't think much of it. But over time, the requests escalated. One day, his friend asked him to cover up a serious mistake at work, something that could have gotten others in trouble. That's when it hit Jake. This wasn't about helping a friend, it was about being used. And the worst part? When Jake finally refused to lie, his so-called friend turned on him, calling him disloyal. That's when he realized, people who ask you to lie for them will never respect you. They only respect what they can get from you. So how do you handle this? First, set a firm boundary. The moment someone asks you to lie, shut it down. No explanations, no debates, just a simple, I don't do that. Second, pay attention to their reaction. If they try to pressure or guilt trip you, that's a clear sign they don't respect you. And finally, remember that integrity is priceless. Losing someone who relies on deception isn't a loss, it's a blessing. At the end of the day, honest people don't ask you to lie for them. And if someone is comfortable dragging you into their dishonesty, you can be sure they wouldn't hesitate to do the same to you. Protect your integrity, because once it's compromised, it's hard to get back.